Nairobi, capital city of the province of Kenya in British East Africa, is both headquarters and jumping-off place for the safari outfitters and their white hunters. One of these hunters, Eric Rundgren, is among the foremost living authorities on elephants, and so is a logical choice to head this unusual hunting expedition. Everything has been organized in advance, and by the following morning, the bow hunter, Bill Negley, and his safari are underway across the rolling hills and plains. Their destination, the Belgian Congo, some 1,000 miles to the west. The modern-day safari travels by hunting car and truck, a far cry from the earlier days when all such expeditions had to be accomplished on foot. Their route traverses one of the great remaining game fields of the world. Among the first animals sighted are the wildebeest, or gnu, one of the more plentiful inhabitants of the open veldt. Although a member of the antelope family, their grotesque appearance reminds one of some ancient form of horned horse. Then, a slender impala. In contrast, one of the most graceful of Africa's antelope, accompanied by friendly tick birds who do him a service by removing annoying insects from their hideaway home. Hey, fellas, that tickles. The lovely impala is among the fastest, if not indeed the champion runner and leaper of the antelope. The hartebeest is a homely, rather flat-faced individual whose ungainly movements and the peculiar shape of his horns match a dour countenance. And a baby hartebeest, knee-deep in the lush grass of his immense backyard, where the cavarondo or crested cranes tiptoe along. Quite common is Thompson's gazelle, or Tommy, as he's affectionately called by Africans. The Tommies are characterized by their large ringed horns and a dark stripe along the flanks. Here and there are to be seen those aristocratic wanderers, the giraffes. That long neck contains only 7 vertebrae, the same as in other mammals. The bones are simply longer in the giraffe. The zebra is one of the best known of Africa's animals, and because of its striking markings, is immediately recognizable to anyone. They generally travel in herds and often are found in the company of gnus and other antelope. They lead a precarious existence, for their flesh is greatly esteemed by the lion. Marabou storks, although of neat appearance and stately bearing, are almost as fond of carrion as are the vultures. Long head feathers resembling pencils stuck in a hairdo give the secretary bird his name. The safari keeps moving along, stopping only at intervals to photograph interesting scenes and animals. In crossing the province of Uganda, they pass over a dam at Ripon Falls. This marks the beginning of one of the great rivers of the world, the Nile. Beyond are the native herds of huge horned Ankole cattle bearing the name of the valley, which is the only place in the world where they are to be found. Water, of course, is necessary to all life and is especially important in these latitudes. Any lake or river forms the community center for numerous birds and animals, among them the hippos. Of all the land animals, the hippopotamus, or river horse, as he's sometimes called, is second only to the elephant in size. Actually, they spend more time in the water than on land, usually leaving the rivers only at night to feed. They can stay underwater as long as 10 minutes and can move along the bottom with ease and considerable speed. They are vegetarians, feeding on grasses, leaves, and herbaceous plants. An appointment at the beauty parlor is in order for Milady Hippo, where a ready-made mud pack awaits her pleasure. However, this is one case, at least, where we doubt that any improvement in appearance is to be gained. Comfy, though. So cool and squishy on a hot day. And handy, too, for discouraging ticks and flies.
Hey, turn me over, Mabel. I'm done on this side.
Many hunters consider the Cape buffalo to be the most dangerous hoofed game animal in the world. Their massive horns may span over 3.5 feet. And the handsome waterbuck is another of the many antelope species inhabiting the veldt or plains. Although living in a region of great heat, they have long coats of reddish-brown hair. Only the males wear horns. Suddenly, the first elephant is sighted, dignified and immense. Elephants are still comparatively plentiful in a broad belt across the center of Africa. In fact, their habitat is restricted only by considerations of food and water, since they can live in all types of country, from desert scrub to equatorial forest. After crossing the Ruwenzori Mountains, the safari finally comes to its destination, and camp is pitched beside a clear stream in the Semiliki Valley. The countryside here is open and rolling, with a scattering of acacia and mimosa trees furnishing the only shade. Immediately, Negley sets out to check their surroundings and soon finds that the area contains a good many elephants. A fire had burned through the dry savannas not too long before, and the abundance of fresh green shoots springing up in its wake is responsible for the concentration of the great beasts. Elephants are not too difficult to approach. Since they are so large, they do not depend upon their natural senses to the extent that lesser animals must. Upon returning to camp, Negley engages in a final practice session. His Kodiak bow, made for this hunt by the Bear Archery Company some months before, is a powerful weapon composed of a core of hard maple laminations between a facing and backing of parallel fiberglass, and with a drawing weight of 100 pounds. The arrows are tipped with blades of the finest steel, sharpened and honed to a razor edge. Eric Rundgren tells Negley that Duo, his native tracker, is familiar with a bow. Duo's technique is quite different, but he gets the job done. And it is somewhat of a surprise to see the ease with which he draws the strong bow and the accuracy with which he places the arrows. Afterwards, Duo said that he wished Africa could grow a tree which would produce such a fine bow material, not knowing that this one was made of laminated maple and fiberglass. Just after dawn on the following morning, they set out from camp to do some serious hunting, traveling along a superhighway built for them as they advance. Once elephants are seen, Negley and Duo set out to make a stalk, being sure to approach against the breeze. An elephant's senses of hearing and smell are excellent, but they are notoriously short-sighted. By watching the wind and moving quietly, a hunter can get up very close. Tricky business this, stalking on foot in sparse cover, and his quarry a dangerous adversary almost as big as a house. The hunter knows he must get close, for despite the size of the target, he must make no mistake in placing his arrow. Duo is close behind with more arrows in case of emergency. He lacks the unreasoning fear many natives hold for elephants because he belongs to a tribe notorious for ivory poaching. His people also use the bow and arrow. When a bull detects them and starts their way, Negley and Duo make a hasty retreat. An elephant usually loses interest in anything once it is out of sight, and this, fortunately, is no great distance. If an elephant had better eyesight and chose to press home a charge, a man on foot would have little chance. Despite their bulk, they can run faster than a man and can easily traverse terrain inaccessible to a horse. When traveling, no obstacle deters them. They climb steep hills, swim lakes and rivers, and force paths through the thickest jungle. As the hunters move up, again, a large bull detects their presence. And again, a retreat is in order. The bull does not appear to be worried over these puny beings, and after a short show of force, moves off. At At last, an opportunity comes. Negley surprises a bull drinking. This is it. Mortally wounded, the bull rushes for cover. Now is the time for patience. The guide assures Bill that his arrow found the elephant's lungs and that it cannot go far. Proof of this statement is to be seen in the approaching vultures and marabou, Africa's sanitary corps. These great carrion eaters have an uncanny, almost unbelievable sense of finding animals just dead or about to die. When the birds soar down from the treetops, the men know the elephant has fallen and move in to find what is perhaps the finest trophy to be gained by hunters on the earth today, a great bull elephant. This animal would weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 pounds and when alive stood 10 feet high at the shoulders. Yet a steel-tipped stick, propelled by the muscles of a man's arms and back, laid him low. Humble indeed are the mighty, and humble too is the proud hunter as he examines his prize. Duo is clearly proud of the Bwana Bowman, and Rundgren suddenly realizes a newfound respect for the light yet deadly glass-powered bow, a modern prototype of one of man's oldest weapons. Native members of the safari set to work on the task of skinning the elephant and preparing the hide and bones for preservation. This fine specimen is destined to be mounted for display in the African Hall of the Whitty Museum in San Antonio, Texas. And for the Lord of the Wilderness, life goes on in the many new herds of the future. The hunter, now bound for his homeland aboard the powerful airliner, carries with him the lasting memory of the animals, the peoples, and the beauty of Africa, and of his unforgettable encounters with the Lord of its wilderness, the link between what was and what is.